I guess people can ask, I think the follow-up question logically would then be, why would God include suffering in the process of growth? Well, anything worth achieving, my answer to that would be anything worth achieving should be paid for. And there must be some form of payment to be offered to the highest. That you may be children of your Father who is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Matthew 5, verse 45. Well, with that being said, welcome to another episode of Logical with Ojei and Toby. Toby and Ojei. We still haven't figured out the name. And to be honest, I think I like this intro. It's very
starting to grow on me. I think.
Yeah, it's starting to make me dance a bit. It's giving me vibes. Anyways, that excerpt is going to set the discussion for today. We are going to once again try to answer hard questions through logic and reasoning, through analysis and plunging into the depths.
Okay, drama queen.
Drama king.
Thank you for the intro. Drama cake. Okay.
Drama king. But yes. Anyways, the question we're trying to answer today, and I think Toby alluded to this last week, and that's why we brought it up today, because this is something he's very passionate about. This has been on his mind. Toby, do you want to tell the people how long this question has been on your mind for?
I don't know, since last week.
Exactly.
Not that long, actually.
It has been on his mind for the better part of 1 week. And we have not been able to sleep. You can see that I have eye bags. My eyes are red.
Yeah.
I am sleep deprived because I've been in search of answers.
Pondering. 24/7.
Thinking.
Why? The goose, the gander, everything in between.
We still haven't found the answer to that question, by the way. If you're here last week and you know what we're talking about, gander, geese, we're working on that. That is a side project. We will write a thesis on it. Yes.
Leave your thoughts in the comments.
That would help us. We're going to
Namaste.
Write a paper on it and explain why what is good for the gander is still good for the geese. But in the meantime, we're going to try and answer the question, if there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? If there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? And I think that was why I decided to start off with Matthew 5, verse 45. You know, that he makes his rain to fall on the just and the unjust. I feel like it sort of sets the tone. And seeing as this is Toby's passion, I'm going to call him in here. Why are you blushing? Time to share your thoughts.
Because you're just saying whatever comes to you. My passion from where? My passion is to design good products.
For the past week,
is on the side.
This has been a burning question in your heart. I'm giving you a platform. Yes. Express yourself. If there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? I tend to shorten it. Like the past 3 or 4, I've been shortening it and saying why do bad things happen to good people. So forgive my brain fog. But if there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people?
Okay.
Enters thought pose. To capture
right.
the essence. Deep thinking.
Right. So I think, honestly, it's more of us having a discussion and less of us trying to objectively answer the question.
Fair enough.
I think, which is okay. So we present our thoughts and, we're also open to feedback and discussion. But, Ojei, when we were having the pre-discussion about this, and I was giving my thoughts, you mentioned something, warm-up, whatever you want to call it. You mentioned something interesting.
I did?
You did.
That shouldn't be shocking. I say a lot of interesting things. I seem to have a lot of energy today, which is, I don't know where this is coming from.
You're carrying the weight for both of us because I don't have that much energy.
Because 10 minutes ago, I did not have this energy, but I'm here now.
Yeah. So you mentioned that who are even good people?
Yeah.
Who are the people that are, you say, hey, bad things happen to good people. Who is good?
Yeah.
How do we define good? And
How do we examine
the
that? Yeah.
scripture also says, Matthew 5:45, oh, the rain falls on the just and on the unjust. Who is the just? So we want to preface it by saying, by our beliefs, the just are the people that have been saved by grace through faith, through accepting the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. So those are who we categorize.
The just are the people who have been saved by grace through faith. So Christians who truly believe are the people you classify as just. Okay.
Just, good, interchangeable in this instance. So not good by our own merits. So not the standard of good where if you are kind to people, like you have good morals, or you donate to the poor, you are defined as good, but then the ultimate standard of good. So that's the perspective I'll be coming from. So even then you might ask, okay, you say Christians are good. Bad things still happen to Christians. Why do bad things happen to good people if there is a good God? And the way I would answer this question, the way I would answer this question is by saying, first off, what is the context for like a bad thing? Yet, what's the standard? Is it anything that is morally apprehensive? Is it what your country or your law dictates as bad? Because what might be bad in a country might not be bad in another country. So what is a bad thing? Is it when a state is bombed? That's when you can now say it's bad. Is it when if the law justifies murder today and murder starts to happen, or people get killed? I say murder starts to happen and people get killed, will you then say a normal thing has happened to a good person? So again, you have to define. That's why in these kinds of discussions, I think there's a lot of defining what is a bad thing. So I guess a bad thing would be something that is generally morally unacceptable. I think we can use the extremes to have the discussion. So things like kids dying of cancer, or people in general dying of cancer, or someone getting killed.
I think that is interesting though, because when you say a bad thing is something that is generally morally unacceptable, but again, preface that against the question, which is, if there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? The standard of morally unacceptable will be different for a good God. God being representing the highest ideal, right? The summation of the divine, the perfect. So there's no flaw in him. So the way I mean, obviously I understand that as a meaning-seeking species, we tend to process events in terms of what they mean to us, and that's why this question is relevant. So it only makes sense insofar as we're able to answer, is it good or bad for us? And more on that train of thought, it is a human habit to infer deliberate intention to events in self-referential ways. So for us to be able to contextualize the import of an event, we have to sort of selfishly look from within for it to make sense. And again, I think we do this because everyone has the general assumption that they are good, right? Even Hitler thought he was doing good by killing a lot of Jews and proceeding to go on an ethnic cleansing. Mussolini thought the same thing when he was acting as a mad tyrant in Italy. You have people in the Soviet Union.
Ojei, you're stealing my spotlight here. I don't know what's happening.
I'm sorry.
I'm following the train of thought.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what's happening here, man.
I'm sorry.
I don't understand the interruption.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I get your point. Fair enough. For the sake of this discussion, I think by and large, people can agree on what is frowned upon. So let's just use that as a metric for the sake of discussion. So I think we can all agree that murder is wrong.
I went on a very huge
tangent. To a good extent.
Don't be offended.
It's okay. I think we can agree to a good extent that people dying of terminal illness is bad, cancer is bad. So that's the context that we will use to talk about it. And so The simple answer to the question is that there is free will, so people can choose to do bad things. That's the simple answer. But now I will go a little bit deeper. I believe in cause and effect. There are consequences for actions. And so, for example, if a brother and a sister decide they want to marry, incest is what is called, there's a good chance they will give birth to a child that is deformed. That is not because, you know, that is not because God wanted to punish them for, sleeping together or some extra. It is because there's biology. We're made with genes, we're made with DNA. There are processes that have to be followed. And so if you do something, if you do A, there's results B. If you have sex, I don't know if YouTube will censor that. Sorry about that.
I don't
If you do
think they
the thing,
will.
you expect a child. And so in that sense, there are things that happen as a result of cause and effect. There are things that happen as a result of free will. So if you live in a toxic environment, research is chances are higher that you would have some type of illness. So the world follows processes. That's how it was made. So things happen as a result of processes. Other things happen as a result of free will. And I would say that in terms of, I want to focus now for a second in terms of, physical things that happen. So maybe countries under siege and bad people are dying. And you say, why doesn't God interfere there? The way I usually answer this question is, at what point should God interfere? At what point is the thing bad enough that God should interfere? Because if you want God to interfere, you know, what's the word? Interfere where every bad thing happens. Isn't it going to start with you and start with me? Because you in your mind are setting a standard for what is so bad that a good God should not allow. But you forget that you do bad things every day. You lie, you cheat, and you steal. So your standard of good and God's standard of good are not the same. We tend to see bad on a scale. So stealing, kind of bad. Lying, white lie, not so bad.
Yeah,
Murder, terribly bad.
terribly bad. Yeah,
Assault on a country, crazy bad. But you forget that for the ultimate standard of good, anything that deviates from
the perfect
perfection is
is
bad.
bad. Yeah,
So lying and murder to a divine good are all the same bad. Sin is sin. So in that case, would you say he should interfere? Wipe away everybody that has done bad?
Essentially, to simplify that, what we'll be saying is this: if you had a perfectly white sheet and you were play God for a minute, right, and try and understand what God encapsulates and what He represents. He is the perfect. There is no flaw in Him. There is no shadow of turning. There is no dullness. All you have is light and ever beaming light. So everything that is good, very good, and tending towards the potential of the highest ideal, the highest you could ever possibly imagine, is found in Him. Now, if you were that being and you saw a white sheet with even the smallest dot on it, you would notice. And by design, you would be disgusted by it. It would be corrupt. So that to you would fall below par. That to you would not be satisfactory. That to you would not be decent. And so that would be bad and should be punished. Just to simplify that. Because
Thank you very
again,
much.
yeah,
That's actually a perfect example to simplify what I've said.
yeah.
I think it'll give people a better understanding. And another thing I will say is that God doesn't promise us a perfect life on earth. The Bible actually says there'll be trials and tribulations. The promise is that, one, He will be with us through trials and tribulation. Number two, the perfect life is actually when our bodies decay and we're with Him in heaven. So our bodies are not perfect. They are containers. They are subject to the forces of decay. They are subject to the forces of nature. And the world is also subject to forces, cause and effect, like I've mentioned, sowing and reaping. So he doesn't promise us a perfect life on earth. So even understanding the premise of heaven and the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, if you understand this foundationally, that question almost disappears because you understand that this is just a passage to a better place. From our point of view, the earth has been around very long because we are humans and we are within time. From the point of view of God, who knows how short the duration of earth is? It could just be a one-day event, and then heaven and hell, eternity with God and consequence. You understand what I'm saying? So he doesn't promise us a perfect life on earth. Just like the rain falls on the unjust, good things happen to bad people. Bad things also happen to good people because it's the cycle of the world.
And there are
We know
also
that we're going to a
times and
better place.
seasons. We know
Exactly.
that there are
And
times
we know
and
we're going
seasons.
to for sure. Exactly. And we know that we're going to a place where bad things are no longer going to be happen and that going to happen, and that's our eternal place. Understanding that we are actually eternal beings, but that's our soul. So this world that we live in is an infinitesimally small part of eternal existence, if you get what I'm saying.
Infinitesimal means very, very
Means like
small,
extremely
very
yeah, exactly.
minute. Yes.
hmm So I
Because,
think that's the best way. Yeah.
sorry, you dragged me for using big grammar a few weeks ago. Here you are,
Okay, my,
using
my
big boy
fault.
words, infinitesimal.
Uh, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. A very small part of our eternal existence. So I think that's the best way I can answer the question of, if there's a good God, why do bad things happen to people here on earth?
No, I think it's very valid. A few things I would add is you were talking about the concept of a bad thing, right? And ah, I think the reason people get confused as to why do bad things happen to good people is beyond the fact that people assume that they have inherent good within them, like everybody thinks they are good. There's also the extension of the fact that people associate things that happen that are not pleasant to be indicative markers of bad, to
So like
connote
pain.
yes, like pain, exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
someone says,
Mm-hmm.
oh, someone is going through pain, and so that means that's a bad thing. Or someone has experienced loss, and that means that's a bad thing. To be honest, pain is not always indicative of bad, right? Pain can be good. The only person that can tell us if pain is good or bad is the person that sees the end from the beginning. So from our viewpoint, we're going through a period of struggle, we're suffering. Um, it's just like when you're growing, right? There's something called growing pains. You experience growing pains. It is a good thing, right? But it is a struggle. There's some form of suffering that must be encompassed during the process, and you cannot skip that. I guess people can ask. I think the follow-up question logically would then be, why would God include process include suffering in the process of growth? Well, anything worth achieving, my answer to that would be anything worth achieving should be paid for, and there must be some form of payment to be offered to the highest, whether it is in suffering, whether it is in pain. So if you are going to achieve a next
Hey,
level,
Eugene, they will call you a suffering apologist now. I
I'm
can
not. I'm
see it
not trying. I'm
already.
not trying. Oh no, I'm not trying to be a suffering apologist. But again, like there has to be. They're going to drag me for
No
so many
pain,
things.
no pain, no glory.
They're going to drag me for so many things. But there has to be, for all intents and purposes, there has to be some price paid for that next level, right? Otherwise, it's not as valuable. That's the way I see it. Even we can even take the same idea and extend it to the concept of death. If you are a Christian and obviously you believe in God, you believe in an afterlife, then death is not really a bad thing. It means the person has gone to be with God. If you're an atheist, it means the person has gone to nothing. So in that case, if you're an atheist and you believe that the person has gone to nothing, isn't nothing better than the suffering of earth? At least by your logic. So is death
That's
really
interesting.
no? Again, no. Does not be the question. Is death
Yeah,
really a
that's a
bad
fair
thing?
point. That's a
Do you
fair
understand?
point.
Regardless of your
Yeah,
stance, is it really a
yeah.
bad thing? At least with reference to the dead, I think it's a bad thing for those who are living. But if the good person, and again, that's why the
Yeah.
question is, why do bad things happen to good people? The good person, this person would already be dead. So did a bad thing actually happen to them? If in one instance they've gone to heaven, and in the other one they've gone to nothing, so they feel actually no pain, then it's
Yeah.
it's it's either
Is it a bad thing?
it's easy a bad thing. It's either a very good thing or on a normal scale. Like there's no emotion towards it.
Yeah. And so in terms of even suffering, you're mentioning something about, suffering. So there has to be a price to be paid. And I just remember a scripture actually that backs this up, where it says, I don't remember if it was Corinthians, it's definitely in the Bible, where it says, I think trials build in us patient endurance.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
truly, there are some good characteristics to be built when people undergo suffering. So the idea of suffering is not good, but a perfect God can use even bad things to bring out good, which is what He does a lot of the time. So God doesn't cause bad things to happen in the actual sense of the word, but even then, He turns things around for His good. He does that all the time. So you think about it. If somebody has lived a life where everything has been handed to them easy, they wouldn't be able to face challenging situations and do difficult things, because that's how the mind works. If you have had to do difficult things, hard things, you get more resilient and you get better at doing difficult things. And based on trend, the things that actually do matter, that people have done, that you look back in the past and you say these things have mattered, obviously on the world scale. I'm not saying now in relation to spiritual things. So on a world scale, what has mattered? Apple, the work of Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison working on the light bulb, these people that have changed the course of history. Those things were hard things. Thomas Edison failed, what was it like 50,000 times? A lot. It was a number of times. So like you said, the things that really do matter, the really really good things, they were achieved through trial by fire, through difficult times. So suffering does build in you patience and resilience and a level of trust beyond yourself. If everything was working out for you, you think about it, it could be a good reason to rely on your own ability, because you try and work on this thing and it works easily, no struggle. But sometimes when things are not working out and you see that this thing that I'm trying to achieve is beyond the scope of what I can do by myself, it needs to rely on God. So that we're not going off too much of a tangent, I just wanted to talk about the suffering, the suffering
No, I
aspect.
agree. I agree with you. I think it's also inherent in the question of what is valuable. If you are going to get something that is beautiful, that is has never been done before, and I shouldn't there be an accompanying price, a very steep price to be paid? I read a quote somewhere. I forget where I saw this quote, anyways, but it goes, value can't shouldn't value is not only measured in what other people are willing to pay for it, it's measured in how much of yourself you're willing to give to get something. So it is it's pretty interesting that people get value when it comes to monetary items, but they forget it when it comes to things that involve self development. You could apply this to even working out. When you go to the gym and you are lifting heavy, and then you're aiming for maximum hypertrophy and you're killing yourself each set, trying to kill the muscle as much as you can, that is not fun. The terms we use to even describe the physical activities, kill the muscle, just as the way I said, kill the muscle, it's not fun. It is nothing fun about it, but we all like the pump afterwards, and we like the feeling we get, right? And that feeling is only made it's made more real, more tangible because of what we had to go through to get it. And I'm not saying, again, and this is not me trying to glorify suffering. Not everybody has to suffer. Everybody has their own upward path, right? I agree. I agree with that. But if you don't if you suffer for some things, it is able to, at least to you, it means more. It means more, right? And the point you alluded to when you said people that haven't suffered, you can look at Abraham. Abraham clearly had a chronic case of failure to launch at 75 years old, living in his father's house. And what are the characteristics of individuals who have failed to endure some form of suffering in their lives? Again, if we look at Abraham, he comes out of his father's house, he goes through Egypt, and the first thing he does is he lies. He betrays his wife, he accepts monetary gifts by betraying his wife, and he's comfortable with it. You're unable to grapple with the forces around you because you have not seen this type of chaos. You've been living in a bubble. And so suffering is important in making a man. But let's realign because we've gone on a very crazy tangent. So let's come back to the main
You went
subject.
on that walk alone, though. Me, I was here
I,
waiting
w-
for
I
you.
went on the I went on the walk alone.
I was
I had
watching
to
you
dip in.
walk.
I had to
You
dip
were
in the
you
conversation.
were
There was
trekking
something
it.
in me
You did
that was calling for
Wakafa
expression.
from Canada. You came to Michigan. You did 5%. Anyways.
But I'm back. I'm back
Okay.
now.
Okay.
I'm here.
So
I
what are we
think
moving on to? Yeah.
I think the next question is, I think we've spoken about if there's a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? But the follow up now is what is the role of God in the evil that exists? What does God do? How does he contribute himself, or how does he react to this evil? Like how does he manifest himself in relation to the evil that exists? I'm using different terms to glossify the question.
Do you want me to take a crack at it?
Go on,
Yeah.
swing. Hey, bada bada, hey, bada bada, bada, swing.
Okay. So to this question, I'll use the most obvious, the best example, the most perfect example to quantify this in the death of Jesus on the cross, the salvation plan. It's very
You
interesting
went straight
that
for the jugular.
straight for the jugular. I will break the jugular. Oh, man. Yeah. So, the people that were crucifying Jesus thought they were getting their way. They thought they were shutting off Jesus forever. The devil thought he was cooking. The Bible even talks about it. I don't remember where. I need to find where it is. They thought they were, achieving their goal. Meanwhile, they were fulfilling prophecy. So, what I would say the role of God in this evil is that even if evil happens, bad things happen, unknowingly they are still playing into God's grand plan. Jesus will come on earth. He will be a carpenter's son. He will live as a human being. He will die and rise again to save everybody that believes. Whether he was flogged and beaten and crucified and they thought they were, evil was happening. You could say obviously that, whoa, wow, they did this to a man that never sinned, an innocent man. They killed an innocent. In this day and age, something like that happens. You say this is the scandal of the century. They took a man, an innocent man. He was just living his life, and they beat him, and they beat him, and they nailed him to the cross next to criminals, killers, and they let him die. It sounds like
And
a
they
really, really bad
exchanged him
thing.
for a murderer as well.
They exchanged him, exactly.
Yeah.
They switched him out for a cold-blooded killer. And it sounds like it was a terrible thing, but it was fulfillment of prophecy. Things prophets had come and talk about years before. It was all fulfillment of prophecy. So at the end of the day, as much as the devil, the father of evil, wants, he cannot really, I want to use being, let me use simple English. He cannot really go against or counter God's plan. God's plan will happen regardless. Through the bad, his plan will shine forth. So, what is God's role in evil? At the end of the day, it is ultimate good. It is his plan. His plan will shine forth. Whatever kind of evil wants to happen, his plan will shine forth.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that also falls into my definition of what is bad because I think bad can only be seen as the subversion of the ultimate will of the divine. And since the divine's will can never truly be subverted, I mean we can take little detours, but he can give a whole generation up to reprobacy and wait for the next generation to come up to fulfill his agenda. So
Yeah.
there's no true subversion of the ultimate will. And so
Yeah.
this is not me gaslighting anybody again, please, I beg. This is not me gaslighting people who are saying bad things exist. I'm not saying bad things don't happen. I think people make bad choices that lead to bad things. Don't confuse
Cancel
my
Toby and
words.
OJ.
Yeah, yeah, you could
Cancel.
calm down.
Cancel.
But yeah, I think bad can only be seen as the subversion of the ultimate will of the divine. In terms of what role does God play in evil, I think God is the creator of evil insofar as the creation of good and free will in tandem by its very design open up the possibility of the entrance of the opposite, right? So it's as if, and this is not me saying
Someone will clip that part now. I'll put it on short.
partner
OJ said God is the creator of evil. Get
creator of
Wahala
evil.
start.
And I think again there are references of this in, I think in this it's in the book of Isaiah, where he says he creates good and he creates darkness. I think it's Isaiah 45, where he says he creates good and he creates darkness, and things like that. So I think all those flow out of him, but they flow out of him insofar as free will exists in tandem with the creations that he has made. So we have the free will, we make bad choices, and so that by extension, he leaves the door open for his antithesis of God to exist. Jesus Christ, I almost bit off my tongue trying to
So,
say that
so
word.
if I understand what you're saying correctly, if I can simplify it, the very existence of God allowing free will was indirectly him allowing the possibility of
Allowing,
evil.
yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so
That's the
that's what you
simplification.
mean.
Well, so
Yeah.
essentially, the very existence of God, because God is not God without free will.
Yeah.
That's free will is part of the perfect ideal, isn't it? So the very existence of God precludes the existence of evil.
Hmm.
It goes in tandem. So he's not the creator of it, but without him, evil does not exist because
Hmm.
of the perfection and the love that ensues out of him.
Okay. That's
Again,
pretty
understand
interesting.
what I am saying. Lord, give them understanding and give me understanding too.
Honestly.
Very careful with my words
You
these
guys,
days.
you guys be careful. But I think within context, it does make sense. I was trying to draw a distinction. I was having this conversation with someone earlier as well, saying that the
You
very
were talking
reason
to
we can
someone
even
else
say
outside me.
it was you, boss. I'm trying to do some
Oh,
mysterious cover. See
oh,
now, you don't
oh, it was
spoil
me.
lamp.
Oh,
You don't
oh,
spoil lamp
sorry.
now. Yeah, they talk to.
It
I was
was
saying
me.
that the very reason why you can say, wow, there is very bad evil. If you can say that, then you are inadvertently admitting that there is very good. Because
Yes.
without good, how can you define evil? Without the front of the book, how can you say there's a back to the book? Without the top of the
Yeah.
table, how can you say there's a bottom of the table? So the law of opposites dictates that for you to say there's a standard of very something, there must be
It
the
must be in apropos to what?
direct direct
Exactly.
opposite. So in comparison to something. So for you to define the standard of evil, there must be a metric. There must be something you know as ultimate good.
Yes.
So I think that's the best way to explain your point. So it is not that God sat down, said everything was good, and decided, wow, this is way too good. Let me sprinkle in a touch of evil, make everybody suffer
Chaos.
small.
Right
That's not
here.
what
Right here.
exactly. That's not what OJ is trying to say. He's basically trying to say the very fact that there is ultimate good means that ultimate good decided that he wanted genuine love, created free will, means as a consequence,
Again,
there
if
is
those two things don't exist, he's not
yes,
ultimate good. So as a
exactly.
consequence of his
As a
existence,
consequence, there is evil.
everything else. And
Exactly.
I guess that is why there's no evil when we get to heaven, because everyone in heaven has made the choice to submit to the ultimate good. And so in that place, there's no subscription to evil to deviate from the path that leads upward. Right? There's no room for anything outside the upward striving and the potential inherent within all of us that takes us from the good to the very good.
Yeah.
The final question, and I sort of foreshadowed this in the beginning because I am a drama king. wink, wink, is what? I just caught Toby staring at me. Why are you staring at me? What's the problem?
Because I don't know where this last question is coming from. I don't know. I don't
The
know.
final question is, why do good things happen to bad people? So what we've tried to examine today is, if there is a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? But I saw this question when I was doing my research, and it's obviously the reverse. Why do good things happen to bad people?
Mm.
Essentially, why do the people who are evil, why be saying I didn't the chop pass?
I would like to give this one a go. I would like to give this one a go. I
You're
think I
giving all of
already.
them a go.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want
Go
to give
on,
it a go. You can give it a
smash it.
go.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
go on,
Okay.
smash it.
Okay. I already answered this in passing. I mentioned the law of cause and effect. If you do A, ideally, the result B. If
Mm.
you work for 4 years on a skill, follow the 10,000 hour rule, you become an expert. If you do the thing, you would
Toby, what's
have
the
a
10,000 hour rule? Not
child.
all of us have read Outliers.
Yeah, okay. The 10,000 hour rule basically says that if you work on something consistently for 10,000 hours, you become an expert at that thing. So if you put 10,000 hours of work into a skill, you become an
AKA,
expert
if
in
you
that
watch
skill.
10,000 hours of Ojei YouTube, you will know everything about me. So subscribe today.
That was very
Continue.
smooth what you did there. That was very nice what you did there. Exactly. So moving on. So there is cause and effect that works. And this is why I like to say that if the reason why you want a relationship with God is so that you can have a successful life on earth, then you missed it. You don't really need God. Because there are people that are not believers. They follow these principles because the world is built on this principle. It works. They follow these principles and they become owners of industries. They become multi-million dollar, billion dollar business owners by following the principles because the principles work whether you're a believer or not. You might not believe in the principles, but the principles believe in you. If you do the thing, you will get the result. And so if your whole work on earth is trying to get success out of relationship with God, it doesn't really matter. Because that's not the purpose of salvation. It is to be more like Christ. So if your entire work is trying to get things from God that you can get without him, they are basically wasting your time. So bad things happen to good people because, sorry, good things happen to bad people because there are principles that the world is built on. And these principles are actually aligned in the Bible. The foundations are from the Bible. Things like don't be a lazy man. You see Proverbs 10:4. Lazy, hard workers get rich. Lazy workers are poor. Do you understand? These principles run the world. If you follow them, irrespective of whether you're a believer or not, they will work. Now, the advantage that Christians can have in the workplace is the fact that you have covering. You can hear from the Holy Spirit ahead of time, so you can know by the Holy Spirit, oh, don't enter this business deal, or don't go to this place. Do you understand? Maybe something is going to happen. But then that's a byproduct of being a believer. It is not the core. So we are not Christians to get things from God, or so that we have an edge up, or so that we can, we can do better in business. Yes, that's a positive. If you listen to the Holy Spirit, you can make better decisions. But the core of it is to become more like Christ and bring people to Him. So there are principles that if are followed, you will get results. Fini. So the rain falls on the just and the unjust. As long as the rain continues to fall on good and bad people equally, once they follow the principles, they will get the result. It's as simple as that. Not too much to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're a Christian and you don't follow the principles, it's not going to, there's no
Yeah.
magical prayer
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
going to change your situation. Through prayer, we draw ourselves, closer to God, and He shows us the error of our ways. We are able to reorient ourselves onto that which is highest. But if you do not take the appropriate steps, just like Abraham's son Isaac, don't take the appropriate steps and sow in the land, you're not going to reap 100-fold.
Yeah.
There's no magic potion. There's no. This is one. We're not practicing sorcery here.
Yeah.
It's the application of principles in search of truth, in search of God, in search of the upward route that reveals itself as a result of your dedication to that difficult task. So that is what it is. I think the answer to the question is in Matthew 5, verse 45, that ye may be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Well, with that being said, it's been a pleasure. I've had fun today.
It's been a
I've
pleasure.
actually had fun today.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of energy. Toby, thank you again for joining me to discuss hard questions. Hopefully we've provided some clarity. Hopefully we've not confused anybody. You know, if you have any thoughts, anything you would like us to tackle, please leave them in the comment section. And please, for the love of God, subscribe. Do it now.
And don't cancel us.
Do it now. You
Don't
don't
cancel.
no,
Subscribe.
feel free to cancel us if you want to cancel us. Like I promise you, it doesn't bother us that much.
Start a
it
new
just
YouTube channel.
adds to my
And you continue.
yeah, well yes.
We start
And it adds to my
another
sleep.
channel now.
It adds to my
Start
sleep
another channel and do
deprivation.
it again.
Because all these eye bags are because of the counseling I've been enduring in the past few days. So go on. You don't want to see me sleep. It's not like you watch me sleep anyways. But yes, be like Toby. You know, he subscribed to this channel. Commit 10,000 hours to watching us. Like you be an expert in all things as
Toby
related to
Ojei.
searching for the upward transformational route.
Yes.
Yes.
Preach, brother.
Subscribe today.
Asha, press it.
Well,
Click that button now before you go. All right.
exactly. And share the video as well. And like, comment. You know, do everything. Just interact. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. I'll see you again next week. Yeah, looking forward to it. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Jesus loves you. Take it easy.